Welcome to OSG Live, where we inspire you to fall in love with your business. Get set to join your hosts, Tanya, Becky, Kylene, and Aaron for your weekly motivation. It's time to share your wins, express gratitude, and choose positive changes. Jump into the comments and share your thoughts with the rest of the OSG community. Coming up, OSG Wellness Super Tools to nourish your mind and body, small business success gems to uncover hidden gems of business excellence, and the uncommon mindset to challenge the status quo. Your journey to success and happiness starts now.
Good morning, Oh, I am unmuted. I thought it said muted. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Tanya and Kylene from Gracie Beautiful Designs.
And I'm Kylene Montgomery with Rise, Shine, Smile.
I am Becky Kutzer with BK Custom Tees.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery with our Success Group, and we are here to inspire you guys to fall deeper in love with your business and just kind of have that fulfilling life. So always a great Wednesday morning to start it off with the Fab Four here. But Kylene, where do you like to start? I know sometimes people might go, oh, it's a little bit of a broken record, but there's a reason for that, right?
Yes. So we're going to start with some positivity and bring some gratitude to start our show today. It is kind of like a broken record, but it is really important to talk about gratitude and to be intentional with it. When we're grateful for the things that we do have, we attract even more good things to us. So we're going to share what we're grateful for this morning and attract more good things to us. And so I can start today. I am grateful for some sleep. I'm probably the only one here that got sleep last night after talking earlier, but I'm really grateful I had a good night's sleep. So I'm feeling good this morning.
Nice. So you're going to have to carry us, Kylene.
Sorry, no pressure.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I am grateful for Kylene. My worlds came together last night. Kylene came on to the MOBA challenge and did chair yoga and had all kinds of great feedback. And I know I enjoyed the second session of yoga yesterday. So
it was awesome. Thank you again for having me.
That's awesome.
Awesome. I'll go next, but if there's any of our viewers in the comments, if you guys want to add your gratitude today, that would be fantastic. So today I'm extremely thankful for a flexible schedule, as my husband and I got to go yesterday and have a small day trip in which he bought a pickup. So he's very happy, but it was nice to be able to have that time to get away. And yet with my phone and iPad with me, I was still able to do a few things back and forth with everybody. So I was very thankful and grateful for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And us boys and our toys, we get excited. Nice. Well, I am grateful for everybody checking in here this morning. So in fact, we got the approval. We could get rolling from Chuck. We really do talk about you, Chuck. We were like, "Where's Chuck?" No, we love it. And we so appreciate you being with us bright and early every morning. I know you're over on the East Coast, so it's a little less bright and early, but still, 8 o'clock is a nice morning for you, hopefully. And then Barb, good morning, everyone from North Central Minnesota. And Michelle checking in also, good morning. And she says, I am grateful for sleep also. So Michelle, Kylene, you'll have to carry us, make sure everybody's involved. All right. I've been coaching volleyball 4 nights a week that goes until 10 o'clock. And it's catching up to me a little bit here. So tonight's my last night of that for a little bit, but so what's everybody else grateful for? Those of you guys that are tuned in live, or if you are somebody that is catching the replay, use the hashtag replay in there and let us know what you're grateful for. And we can go from there. So what's next, you guys? I guess we need some wellness toolbox, right? The wellness super tools here. We got to get a new tool on our toolbox here this morning. You guys ready for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. I removed the wrong person.
Like, that's not me. That's funny.
Oh, good morning. I'm actually really excited about this topic because it's something that I've started doing. And I apologize. You're going to see her pop in. She wants to be the star of the show. So
I love it.
yes, she's on my desk. She's spoiled. I've started to create a space in my house. We have a bedroom that doesn't have a bed. So I've kind of taken it over for yoga and my weights and stuff. And just, I'm going to move a chair in there. So it's more of a calm space because the rest of my house seems to be like very chaotic with multiple things. So, and I didn't realize the importance of it until I started doing it. I'm like, I'm going to go up to my room and not my bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know, does your office kind of act as that for you, or is that because you work there too? Does it not work?
No, I mean, I think, having that designated space where you can feel calm and energized. I am very thankful for the space that I have. It was our extra bedroom, and now it is my office and yoga studio. But as you can see behind me, there's not a whole lot on the walls. It's nice and calm. So it's this physical location that, like you were saying, you can go to. And when you get there, you have that sense of calm and that sense of energy that's allowed to be created. And so having that space for yourself is really important. Now, not everyone might have a whole room that you can dedicate, right? But maybe your workspace can be that place for you too. It looks different for all of us.
It does. And like, I know when I rearranged up here in my area that it did have a massively calming effect because now I don't have all the clutter behind me. My husband had mentioned to me one day after watching our show that your space is a disaster. Okay. So the importance of having a designated space, it helps with stress reduction. If I'm overwhelmed, or if a certain area in my house, which my kitchen usually is the area I destroy on a regular basis, I learned to cook from my mom and everything seems to get dirty. I can go up there and be like, okay, I can recenter. It also encourages mindfulness and the practice of being present in the moment. I find that I'm much more aware and able to practice gratitude like very intentionally in that space. And reflection and clarity offers a quiet space for self-reflection. I know that when I have Asia Grace and her sister Franny up there with me, it's not as easily done. So I've gotten into the practice of leaving them either with dad or in their kennels.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the mindfulness part of it. You can go into this space and you know what it is about. You can go in there and it promotes work if that's your workspace, right? If you're going in there to do yoga, you're going in there and you have this sense of calm and it allows you to be present in that moment. I think that's really important to highlight why we're talking about this, why it is our, another wellness tool that we can incorporate in our life. I really liked how you said that.
I know we've talked in the past, and this is kind of off topic, but kind of not, about like our workspaces and how they can actually be this as well. I know like my heat press sublimation area is an absolute disaster right now. And I'm coming in tonight with my part-timer to get that done because it will make me feel better, less stressed, and able to work. So it could be any space really.
Yep, exactly. And then when you find that space, wherever it's going to be, it's important to declutter because all of the stuff around us can create space in our head, right? It takes our energy, it draws it to that. And then that's less creative energy that we have to dedicate to our goals and whatever thing we're working on in that moment. So really taking the time to, like behind you, it's all nice and laid out and clean and organized, that brings a sense of peace and calm, like you said. So look at that in your own space, whatever area of your home or your office that you need make sure it is free of declutter. I know in front of me, I have a little bit of that work to do. I have piles, but they're still piles, right? And that's drawing my energy to it. And instead of it just being all put together, organized, I can just, that would be better because then I can go in and just focus.
I know this side of my desk is causing me a lot of anxiety right now. It's going to get fixed as soon as this is over because I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it makes a huge difference. And we've already talked a little bit about some different types of spaces, but in types of sacred spaces, you can have indoor or outdoor. I know it's easier in some parts of the world to have an outdoor space this time of year, but some people have a garden, a patio. I know our friend in Louisiana has her back porch where she can go out and have her morning coffee. And so I think that that's a great example. I can go outside when the weather's nice. I don't really have a designated space, but I know sometimes I just go out there and sit on the steps. And so you can, and it could be like a garden or a park. We have a chain of lakes here, so sometimes I'll walk down to the lake. And so you can make that space whatever you want, whatever's important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of outdoor spaces, for me, sometimes on my lunches or if I have a break or something and the sun's out, I'll just go and just sit outside. So, maybe it's just as simple as having a chair that you can get some sunshine if the sun is out, and create all that energy. Looks like Barb wrote, I am grateful for sun coming up. It's going to be a sunshiny day. Sunshine definitely makes the day happier. Oh, thank you. I couldn't agree with you more on that one.
Absolutely. I was coming home from the cities the other day and it was foggy the whole way home. But as soon as I got to Fairmont, the skies were bright blue with fluffy white clouds and the sun was out. And it was like, and it was just such a boost. That vitamin D is amazing.
Yes, it is. So along with these spaces that we're having, the importance of rituals is really important here. Incorporating your rituals when you go into that space. So maybe that space, like I said, this is my yoga studio. So when I go in, I'm in that meditative state. If I go to my mat, I'm, that's what I'm doing. That's my ritual. If I come to my desk, I am in that journaling state or whatever it might be for you in the morning or whatever day you go into your workplace. Spend that time just to get settled and connected with that space that you've created for yourself, I think is really important.
Absolutely. And then practical tips for decluttering. You can use all kinds of different methods, but what I've been doing in my house, and I actually put this on my list of a half an hour a night to go through a space in my home. And if I haven't touched it in 6 months to a year, it's going because I obviously don't need it. We here at work are apparently a bunch of hoarders. Some are worse than others. And I finally am like, okay, go through your areas and let's either put it where it belongs, find a place, a new home for it, donate it, or if it's trash, throw it away.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think that's very important too. Some people use minimal the KonMari method. I was going to look that up and I didn't. But there's all kinds of decluttering techniques that you can research as well that might work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like, I think when I think of decluttering, I think it's an all-day project, right? And you can just take a few moments out of the day.
Aaron says, does that work for clothes too, Tanya? Wink, wink, Kylene.
Okay, Aaron.
Actually for clothing, since most of you know, I have lost a substantial amount of weight over the last year. And so I actually have a huge pile that needs to go to donate because it needs to get out of my house because I'm not keeping the bigger sizes. Not going to do it this time.
Good for you. Yeah. Well, and it feels good, right? So my closet, it's really not that bad. It's just I tend to only wear this like to have them. I don't know. And maybe it's a comfort zone, right? It's a sense of comfort to know that they're there, but I tend to only wear the same few things and the rest just hangs there. So anyway, yes, Aaron, I will work on that for sure.
I think it's a pick on Kylene morning today.
I'm the one that got sleep, so I can take it. No, it's all good.
I love it. So I would just like to encourage everyone to seek out a space in your home, in your office, outside, and try to have that sacred space where you can go and de-stress, reset, all of the things, and let us know how it works for you.
Yeah. I really would encourage you guys to do this too, because this is something that I am working on. We've talked about the priority management, not necessarily time management. So when you go into that space, you want to be as productive as you can with whatever your intention is for that space. So getting those important things done first is key there. And so when you have these spaces, right, then you can help set yourself up for even more success when you are tackling whatever those important projects are for you.
Yeah. And just as a side note, Asia does have her sacred space. There is a rug so she can't slip on my desk with her blankie.
Oh, she is one lucky pup.
Yes. Spoiled.
Well, do we want to bring the rest of the Fab Four back and we can
let's
chat about this a little bit more?
Yep.
All right. So here we go. This Darren just popped in here and said, "Good morning, Darren. Let's share his comment." He says, "All I wear is black, so when I pick my clothes, I just grab the next black shirt on the left, and so don't waste time thinking about what I'm wearing 99% of the time." So, yeah, that's the I'm sure Darren was doing it before, but Mark Zuckerberg's kind of made that kind of idea famous, right? Having a uniform, so you're not wasting all that time in the morning picking out what you're going to wear. And maybe that's what you're doing, Kylene. You've got your outfits.
I do have a uniform for sure. Just the Costco sweaters, I'm good to go.
To make Kylene feel better, mine is not much better. My husband's side is very neat and orderly, and mine is like, oh, I have piles there and I have a pile there, and I need to go through it because I'll grab something, I'm like, I don't like that, and then I put it back, and I'm like, why did I just do that? Shouldn't do that. So
that does make me feel better. I'm not alone.
I have really started to try to be intentional. Like if I grab something and it no longer, if I'm like, no, I put it in the donate pile. Because there's some things I'm like, as I'm trying to find my new style and things like that. And I go Goodwill treasure hunting a lot. So I could very easily get overwhelmed with what my treasures that I find. So I'm trying to be intentional with purging as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darren said Einstein did the same thing. And yeah, actually, my mom suggested this to me years ago, that you take your clothes and, she just said, take them all off the hangers and put them in the corner. And if you don't wear them so I guess get through the seasons, right? So because I know, you've got some winter, some summer kind of, but if you don't wear them in the course of that season, if you don't go looking for it, then that's your donate pile. So I don't know. That's a interesting idea.
Also flip the hangers around. And if you don't use them by the time the season's over, out of here.
There you go. That's way better than just piles in the back corner. So I love it.
Piles would make me insane.
Yeah. Barb says, I do zone house cleaning throughout the week, as housework is one of my least favorite things to do. It also frees up the weekend to do fun things. So there you go.
I like that.
I love that.
Yeah, good stuff.
That is what I learned from flylady.net, if we can say that, and yet I don't utilize it very well. I have all the tools. I just don't. I don't know. I'll get there someday.
Yeah. Well, that's why we do things like this, right? That reminds us of the tools that we have. And yeah, I think we all agree that everybody's got all the tools. They have all the necessary things, right? We've got it inside of us to do what we want to do and be what we want to be, but we've got to intentionally, you know, like Tanya, choose, right? We have to be intentional. All these things. It does really boil down to that, right? We've got all the tools. I've got all the tools, but I don't use them all the time. And so it's making a habit out of the tools that we have available to us and what works for us. It's, I almost kind of look at it as like we're designing our life through designing, in my tech terminology, it's through designing our business, but we're designing a life. So
Yes.
Very much so.
Yep. Michelle says, I have way too many graphic tees. That's what happens when you make them. Yeah.
Or you get the ones that you screwed up because you don't want to waste them.
Absolutely.
But then I don't want to wear them in public because I don't want anybody to know that I did that. Good stuff.
All right. Anything else that we missed from that? I know you guys were talking about kind of the overall idea of creating spaces. My trying to be funny took us into the cleaning out our closets thing. But,
that's okay. I think it's a stressor for a lot of people that's not talked about, for whatever reason. So I think it's a good insight.
Yeah.
And it's not just closets, because as I found out on, was that Saturday? No, Saturday, because Sunday was the other stuff. I painted on Sunday, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Saturday, we decided to throw like 4 pieces of Tupperware out because it's like, and that like led to Kevin opening the pantry door and going, "Oh my God!" So we opened pretty much every cupboard in the kitchen, and everything came out, and then only what we wanted and whatever went back in. So we now have like 2 or 3 cupboard units that have nothing in them because we purged that much. So, I mean, it needs to happen, and it needs to happen like in every area for us at times. So
that's good. That's really good.
Absolutely.
And one other quick thing. Sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing about the sacred spaces that you guys were sharing kind of more in general there too. I found for me, and again, this is not necessarily for everyone, I found for me that space where it is kind of about, slowing down, meditating, being really intentional. I have a mirror right in front of it. I think that is, for me, that's really important, because it really is about this conversation, right? If I'm looking at myself in the mirror, it's like, hey, let's have an honest conversation here. And so for me, that has been really powerful. So I don't know if that would help anybody else, but that has been something game changer for me.
Yeah. That's a really good tip. Just bringing that awareness and accountability to yourself.
Good. Yep. Okay. Well, you know what, guys, I've got a quick, we've talked about this, right? The idea is when something comes to us, right, that we feel like might be a gem that people can use, kind of a quick hit here, that we will do that throughout the course of OSG Live. And I had something kind of hit me this last 7 days, last week, that I thought might be really useful. It's something I've been thinking about for myself. So you guys mind if I hit a quick small business success gem here?
Go for it.
I'm excited.
All right, here we go. All right, I got the right people hidden, and I'm here. All right, so we're good. So my small business success gem, I want to dive right into it. It came up for me with regards to social media and how we engage with it. I've discovered, I mean, I guess I kind of knew, but I've been really intentional about, quote unquote, tuning my social media. And what I've found is that by doing this, not only does it make it better for me to actually be in social media, right? I'm not inundated with all of the time wasters, and I'm not as inclined to just scroll and scroll and scroll, but it also seems to have gotten additional reach when there are things that I want to share that I believe are important, right? And so, for example, we're working on the live event, and because I had been really intentional about engaging with more people around me in my community and stuff like that, we were having a little bit of a challenge finding the right venue for the event. And so I just posted on my Facebook page, hey, local folks, any ideas? And I mean, I got inundated with ideas. It was awesome, because then we had lots to choose from, and we found the perfect place. So you can kind of tune your social media. And here is the trick. It's so simple that it's silly, but the trick is you have to be engaged. You have to be engaged at a deeper level, right? So when I say engaged, it means, are you being a part of the conversation around the conversations that you want to be a part of, right? Like, it's great that we say hello, we congratulate people, we say thank you, all that kind of stuff, happy birthday, right? And that, there's nothing wrong with that. We need to keep doing that. But what I've found is that when I am also intentional by going into different groups, or just kind of when I do kind of hit that first scroll of the page to kind of see what's going on, it is about having an actual conversation with somebody in the feed, right? And so a couple pointers here real quick is making sure that the talk that you're involved in is positive, if that's important to you, right? You don't like social media because all the negative or all of the things, the drama, blah, 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 right? Well, guess what? Starts with you, right? You be that starting point to make sure that, you're always the one that is showing up and saying, let's rise above the drama and talk about this, right? And then the other part is actually get involved in the groups that are going to be useful for you, right? Not just the sometimes we got to leave a few groups. I don't necessarily leave a lot of groups, but I certainly turn off all the notifications for certain groups, and they're just there and I haven't seen them for years. Right. And so get in there and actively engage, ask questions, go deeper. It's all about engaging. Right. And so social media's goal, the companies out there, the Facebooks, the TikToks, the YouTubes, the Instagrams, all that stuff, their goal is to do whatever it takes to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. Right? Because when that happens, when you're on their platform and you're moving in it and you're scrolling through it or whatever the case may be, that puts more eyeballs on the ads that they're putting out there, and therefore they make more money. Right. And so if you think about that, just be intentional with your time. Maybe it's a time block. For me, I found that when I kind of have completed a big project, something that it's really important to me, then, I might just take and say, okay, set a timer, 15 minutes, go in there, engage, talk to the people that I want to talk to, and be part of it. So I think the best way to do this, and I'll just wrap it up with this and bring the Fab Four back in here, is to stop the scrolling, stop the doom scrolling, as I've heard it called, right? And be intentional. What are you there to talk about? What's on your mind? Get deeper than just the hellos and the kind of surface level stuff. I'm not saying to get rid of that stuff. I'm saying make sure that you're intentional about getting deeper. So there's a way that you can improve your social media feed and get more reach. All right. So here we go. I'm going to bring the Fab Four back up here real quick with us here. Good morning. Good morning back. Welcome back. What do you guys take on that real quick?
I totally agree. Especially on TikTok. I know TikTok sometimes leaves a negative taste in people's mouths, but I personally absolutely love it. I think it is a great tool if it's used properly. And I've basically trained my algorithm. I don't see stuff that, and if I do, it's like, okay, how did I get here? And then I start searching for the things that I want to see again. I use it for my health journey. I use it for my business. And I just typed a message to everyone. If you are on TikTok, please go follow Kylene at Rise Shine Smile and my new account for my digitals, which is Tanya.digitaldoodler, because we're trying to grow to 1,000 so that we can go live. That's kind of the framework. So I have those business accounts and people that I follow, people that could benefit from my things. And you can definitely train your algorithms and not go do all the goofy stuff. I do happen to follow mini cows and mini farms because they make my heart happy, and my husband does. So whatever works.
Yeah. You go to my Instagram; it's full of volleyball stuff. So on my side of the feed. All right. What about you, Kylene and Becky?
Well, I know that this is something that I have to be more intentional about. I do have the habit of the scrolling, and it's something that I have become aware of, because when I'm done doing that, I have that internal feeling of disappointment with myself. Like I could have been using that time to be more engaged, as you just said, instead of just liking or the quick one word response on an image. So yeah, it is using the tool as it's meant to be used for. if you're going to be on it
Mhm.
for your business. And we all have so much, like we said earlier, we all have so much time in the day. So when you do have that time to be on social media, using it for its purpose, I think is really important. And it's something I am working on personally. Yep.
Good.
I think we all are.
Yeah. No, I
Yes.
still do today. Yeah, for sure. Becky, what about you?
And I found the same thing, especially before Christmas last year. But that's also how I like landed into the knitting stuff. Because then what do you start searching? What, like something, whatever. So, I mean, my
Mhm.
TikTok and my stuff is all filled with some of that stuff now. I am terrible about doing some of that doom scrolling, especially at the end of the night when I'm just like, I don't know,
Mhm.
finally, but yet that's one of the worst times to actually do it, because then my brain
Mhm.
doesn't actually shut off, and then
Yeah.
that sleep thing eludes me. So that will be something I will be changing too. But I kind of like Tanya have, made things, search things, and only like things that are what I want to see um, on, especially like on TikTok. So there's not a lot of other junk that comes up for me at that point either. So
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah, good. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for letting me share that. Like I said, it was something that came to mind, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be a
Mhm.
perfect for a gem. So
absolutely.
Mhm.
glad we got to talk about that together. All right, well, you guys ready to dive into the uncommon mindset here?
Yes.
All right, here we go. All right. So back for another uncommon mindset. Becky, we're into week 5 of our Fundamentals of Business Success program, and we're kind of transitioning here in week 5 from kind of that foundation mindset into planning, or as Dr. Covey from his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he calls it the first creation, right? So, because here's what first creation means. Everything we do has a first creation or a plan that we kind of conceive in our minds. Everything, right? Whether we actually we're intentional about it or not, everything has that first creation happening. And before we create it, and it becomes reality, right? The more clarity you have on that plan in your mind, the better the outcome of the creation is going to be. But unfortunately, for a lot of small business owners, we end up, because we're overwhelmed, it starts to make us a little bit short-sighted, and we're not willing to take the time to kind of go to that 30,000 foot view and plan our overall business. And so the first creation, the plan that they conceive in their head, ends up being the moment before they take the action, and they don't get enough information to make a decision that's going to help them actually move forward. And they're just kind of swept along down the stream, as opposed to being intentional about where they're headed. So I think that's kind of what we want to start talking about here in this next segment, Becky.
I agree. We as small business owners we got so excited and so passionate about this new business. We just want to jump right in, and we'll just figure out the rest later. And
Yeah.
and definitely having, the foundation that we've been talking about, and now getting into planning and moving that business forward is going to be very important.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you're so right there, right? You're passionate about it, you're excited, and we don't want to let go of that. We want to be taking action, but if you can just pause for just a moment, take that moment and start thinking a little bit beyond. Okay, the next 5 minutes, the next this, right? So the first part of the plan, and we talked a little bit about kind of, and the nice part about the way that the fundamentals of business success works here, Becky, is that it all kind of flows together, right? And so we were really kind of leading into the plan by being goal getters and thinking about our goals. But then the next foundation that we really need to take into effect is that there's a couple of things that we'll cover, but today we're going to talk about knowing our numbers and being able to manage our business, and that allows us to make decisions and take excuse me, more informed action. So I actually, real quick here, experience that I had surrounding numbers. I was teaching at an event for aspiring small business owners, and it was a 2-day event, and I taught 5 classes. And in each of those 5 classes, I asked people every time at the start of the class, who here knows how much it costs them just to be in business? right? Whether they were new or in business forever, how many people in the room? And so it was what was their overhead rate? Because the reality is, no matter how lean you think your business is, well, I'm just working from home, I'm just working out of the garage, I'm the kitchen table, whatever. You have expenses associated with being a business, and all of those expenses are your overhead, right? And as an as a business owner, it's your responsibility to know what those numbers are. So we make it easy for our OSG members to know the numbers because we break it down into an overhead rate, and that overhead rate ends up becoming, how much per hour it costs you just to be in business. But as I said, back to that event real quick, over those 2 days, over those 5 classes, the list that I got afterwards was about 150 people total. So, just a couple of people took multiple classes, but ultimately about 150 different people over those 2 days. And I was blown away by this. This is how many people knew how much it cost to be in business. Now, I wasn't blown away. I wasn't like disappointed. I was just kind of like expecting, maybe because typically it's in that 25% range. We'll actually know. But the reality is, it's not something that we think about enough, right? It's not something that we do. And so, we have tools that are available to us. OSG, we're all about that, right? But ultimately, however you get there, you must be able to really, off the top of your head, know how much it costs you to open your doors, because you're going to be in those situations where somebody says, well, hey, I want to do this. How much is that going to cost? And if you don't have that foundation, boy, you're going to really be in a place of struggling. And again, not in a disappointing way, not in a, oh my gosh, you're a terrible business owner, but you need that support. You need to be thinking about that. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about a little bit more here today, Becky.
I agree. This is something I was so guilty of. When I started, I was only using the cost of the product to figure my pricing in, and not taking into account, cost of equipment to make it, the electricity to run the equipment. How about the software to make the design, or, the big one, what was I going to pay myself to actually complete the job?
Yeah.
Early in business, it's extremely important to make sure that you factor in paying yourself, even if it means that you turn around and then reinvest that money back into your business. You need to show that you paid yourself and then, bring it back in. But it's so important to have all those factors factored in when you're working on pricing and knowing your numbers. That's the the big part. So
yeah. And I think you're right, Becky, because funny enough, right, my dad was a CPA for 25 years. That was the world I grew up in. He helped small businesses, and so that was what I was around. And a business that I had before our success group, I was in that same boat. And I know, I'm finally ready to admit, right? So I'm coming out here. That business failed because I did not have a good handle on those things. I did not know that. So I was bringing in product and paying more ultimately for everything, right, than what I was selling it for. And that's why I struggled. So, I think, knowing our numbers is so crucial. And then, like you mentioned there, Becky, planning to pay ourselves, right? It's something we're going to cover deeply in the workshop, and it's a big part of understanding our costs. But if you don't plan to pay yourself now, like you said, then when are you going to be able to do that? And yes, it could mean just a transfer from one account to another and reinvesting it right back in. And that's totally fine. That is actually what most people do. And that's how we start a business. We have to do that. Because that's the comment that I hear a lot, Becky. Well, I can't afford to pay myself yet. Okay. Yep. You can't afford not to pay yourself and then reinvest it into the business. So I love that. So thanks for sharing that. But then the other thing is, you mentioned, right, what's the cost of equipment? Well, do you ever go to a trade show, or do you ever go out there and want a new toy, right? You want a new thing, right? Well, who's going to pay for that? Is that just going to be on your own personal finances with your credit card? The reality is, people always ask, well, when should I upgrade my equipment? Well, you should upgrade your equipment when your business is ready to pay for that upgrade, right? But again, we have to calculate that. And then from there, now we can kind of track what the expenses are, get better handle on the numbers, calculate that overhead rate, and then we could figure out some ways to reduce expenses. So Becky, I think we have some time to share a tip here on reducing overhead. Now, in the workshop and in the book, there's several on the list there. But which one do you think is probably the best one to share here today?
So on that list, like you said, there is several, and we will go through all of those in our workshop stuff. But investing in an accountant was the one that stood out to me. It's the first and best way to reduce your overhead costs. By investing in that accountant, it enables small business owners like us to focus on growing their businesses while making sure that you're not the one ensuring that the financial matters are handled, that the reports are done on time. This is something I'm struggling with right now. I haven't been able to let go of that. And yet there is definitely a need for me to let go of that. And so I will be investing in that accountant. I should have probably done it 4.5 years ago and didn't. And it will be on the list. It is a priority for 2024. So, while that upfront cost of having that accountant can be expensive, those long-term benefits are huge. The cost savings, they are making sure there's compliance. The strategic guidance often will outweigh that expense in the long run. So like I said, this is a learning one for me. I've tried to reduce some expenses other ways, and this is just something that keeps coming back to me that, it's the last thing on my list that I want to do. So what happens is it doesn't happen, and then it gets behind, and that's where I'm finding that accountant should have been in place, several years ago in my business. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so great that you share that one. And it definitely is one of those things where, because in fact, I just heard this yesterday, right? I just can't afford that right now. Right. And I get it, but we can afford a lot more than we think. We just have to be willing to kind of sacrifice a little bit. Sorry, my son's heading to school.
Bye, Louis.
All right. But I think it is really important that we think about that. And maybe you've got to get creative with it, right? Maybe you can't go out there and just have a monthly retainer where you're paying for that accountant. Maybe what you're doing is you're finding a virtual assistant that has some bookkeeping skills, right? And then maybe you're kind of annually working with an accountant until you can work up to that kind of thing. And but whatever it's going to take to get creative with making sure that what your numbers are, because they'll also help you with that side of it, right? Like they'll get all that detail together for you and save you all that time so you can be focusing in on what it is that you want to do, right? So because I think in our space, right, creatives and accountants don't always kind of get along per se in our brain, right? Because we want to get messy, we want to be creative, we want to do all that, where an accountant needs, this has got to check out with this, and it's all got to be neat and clean and tidy. And so bring that person in. You need that kind of thing around you. I love that. So what a great piece of advice, Becky. Thank you. All right. Well, let me share one final note here before we bring in the rest of the Fab Four to kind of talk this through a little bit. But this act of planning. So again, we're getting into the planning phase here a little bit more. From the numbers to the other areas of business that we'll talk about over the coming weeks are crucial to the working on, right? So back in September, early October timeframe in the Uncommon Mindset, I talked a lot about working on it. It was a 3-part series. And so let's dive into that. But I just noticed Barb's comments. So before I get too far away from that, it is important to review your numbers throughout the year on a quarterly basis, or if you see any overhead prices rising, then adjustments can be made. So true, Barb. And it is really hard, right? Because if it's not something you're passionate about, we avoid those things, right? Oh man, I'm going to have to spend, however many hours going through this. But if you had somebody that you were invested with that was doing that for you, or kind of keeping things up to date, then you reviewing your numbers on a quarterly basis could be a 15-30 minute celebration, right? So that's awesome. And Barb says, I have a CPA that looks at my bookkeeping on a monthly basis as I use QuickBooks. That's awesome. A great idea. Great tool there. Okay. All right. Well, I'll get back on track real quick. So working on our business. But I wanted to share, hi, Cora, good morning. I wanted to share a quick story Shocking, right? Aaron sharing a story, but this concept of working on your business, I think, is so important for us to make sure that we're devoting some time to it. We have a new member inside of OSG. His name's John, and he is just launching his business. And he's been at it for a short amount of time, but he recently decided to partner up with someone. So he came to OSG looking for some foundation that they could work from. And so we started in with the core foundations of clarifying their reason, looked at what their goals were, and then he took the framework and together with his new partner, they created a wonderful business plan, right? And this business plan is basically them designing the business of their dreams. And throughout the process of creating this plan, or that first creation that I mentioned earlier, they've let inspiration lead them to actions. So both partners are in networking groups, and they've been sharing this journey they've been on with this planning, and it's working for them, right? They have work flowing in well beyond what they were doing before this, right? And so my point here is that we think that we don't have time to slow down and do the working on our business side of things. But the reality is we don't have time not to do that, right? Because that inspiration, that action of creating the business of your dreams is actually going to get you there. Just working in your business all the time, getting the stuff done, right? So understanding, right? So they worked through the workflow and they've already, and I mean, this was less than a month ago, they've already reached some of the milestones that they laid out in their goals, right? They didn't change what they're doing from day to day. They only got more clarity on what their plan is, and that clarity reduced the friction to achieving their goal. And so they plan to work on their business more, right? So you can do the same thing in whatever time frame that is for you. But I know it's crucial to get not only the clarity on your reason, but then do that work in working on your business, right? OSG members, we've got the 5 Keys program that you can be going through as often as you need. We've got all the past training that we worked on. We just got done with the Goal Getter series. So you can look through that and figure out, okay, am I really trying to achieve the goals that are important to me, right? And so get out there, share your plan with people, take the steps, look for feedback. And I think when you're doing all those things, right, you're getting clear on your reason, you're building that mindset foundation, then you're doing the planning, then you're taking action, and you just keep doing that over and over, mindset, planning, action. If you're missing one of those things, the others won't work. So just make sure that you're hitting all of those things. So that was kind of my final note on as we get into the planning phase here, Becky. Anything else before we bring them back here?
Just, the OSG community has so much in there training wise. So if we have any non-OSG members listening, welcome to join us there. The Aaron has not put it up lately, and I think he changed his thing for his book, which I did finally get the other day. It was in limbo for me for a few days, but the consultaaron.com to reach out, to Aaron and or me, whichever, however you find me, but reaching out to Aaron, that's what I did once I when I joined OSG, then it was, okay, I need to work on some of this stuff. I can see how this is going to happen. And so, one of the hardest steps is actually getting started and reaching out. So, take that step.
Yeah. Don't hesitate. I love that. All right. Well, shall we bring the rest of the Fab Four back up? And there we go. Okay, here we go. We've got Tanya there. We got Becky. We'll get everybody back in our right orders. So we're playing nicely together.
You notice how we keep you and Kylene separate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a little spicy this morning. So all right. So Tanya, what's your takeaways from all that there?
Such good stuff. And some of it I still need to work on. I need to become more intentional with going through the 5 keys. As one of my choose words will say, I'm working to rein in my chaos that I create for myself. So, and then make more time to do the intentional things that I need to do for my business. So
yeah, love that. And I think that's such a great share, Tanya, because we're all there, right? I mean, I wrote a book about it and I need to work on it too. Right. And so it's not that you're going to get to this point of perfection, and right,
Mhm.
you're going to gradually improve, right? You do more. So I intentionally, part of my monthly review is I have the 13 fundamentals there, and I try to have an honest assessment for myself. How did I do in each of these fundamentals? Do I need to be intentional about working on that more? And did I do good there, or where did I really shine, and what came out of that? So I think that's a really important point that you shared there, Tanya, that it's not about getting there and saying that you're doing it all the time. It's about being intentional about working towards that. So I love that.
There's that word again, intentional.
Yeah. It comes up all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kylene, what about you?
Well, there was a lot here. But I think, starting off with just more clarity, really getting clear about what path you're headed on and why. And then that, dictates your choices and your decisions and your planning. And then your actions are more effective to reach your goal. And remembering that, we all have our zone of greatness. And if, like, for example, the accountant recommendation, that's not probably your zone of greatness. So if you can get some help in that area, it frees up more time for you to do what you really are good at and to grow and to thrive. So yeah, I thought that stood out to me a lot.
Yeah. So real quick, back to know your numbers there too, because that was the kind of the intention. I know I hit a lot of other things. Becky kept us on track, but not shocking. But the know your numbers thing too. Having that overhead rate, having that, whether, and it doesn't matter what your number is, by the way. People are always like, oh, I'm going to do, is it too big? Is it too small? Or it doesn't matter. It could be $25 an hour. It can be $300 an hour, $500 an hour, whatever. Your business is going to be uniquely you. But let's just say it's $100 an hour and you've got somebody that wants a certain thing done, right? We, as decorators, we have a decent idea, shirt's going to cost us about this much. Whatever is good. So we've got a round number there. And then, how long is it going to take you? Right. And so between those three things, you can price like that. Pricing is one of the biggest challenges that most companies have. In fact, a lot of the magazines and stuff are reaching out to me and they want me to do pricing seminars and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, but you guys realize that there isn't some magic formula that I'm going to share, right? The reality is, know your numbers, understand what your customers value, and then the pricing becomes easy. Yeah.
But we do have the magic formula with learning those numbers. It becomes a magic formula. So technically we do. There just is work behind it. It's not just a 3 times this or 4 times this or whatever. So it's not as simple as they want it to be, but there is a magic number in how it happens.
Good point, Becky. Thank you for getting me clear there. I love that. All right. So anything else that we needed to cover there?
Well, the other thing that stood out to me is just really understand that our time is worth money. So, yes, we have a tangible product that we're providing and making, but our time is worth money. So, more important to know your numbers so you can pay yourself, because this is your livelihood, and we have to be able to continue doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking on that real quick too, other people are going to value what you do more than you do, right? Because again, a lot of things we do are in our zone of greatness. And so it's just kind of part of who we are. We don't think that there's some value there, but the reality is there is value there and people are willing to pay for that. And so, especially early on, I think we do struggle with that. Why would somebody pay me to do this thing? Well, guess what? They are. So your job becomes figuring that out. Why would they? Right? What makes you unique? And so I think surrounding yourself, right? This is stuff that I've heard you guys talk about lots in the Masters of Success, for example, right? To value yourself more and that you bring this to the table and this is your superpower. And so I'm a prime example of this. I have a hard time with that. It's like, man, I don't know what that's worth, but I've been intentional about surrounding myself with people that are willing to tell me, hey, Aaron, snap out of it, right? You gotta do a little bit more and have a little more confidence in yourself. So I think there's something to be said there too. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Tanya, we are at that point where we get to choose, and you're going to inspire, get us to collaborate and encourage us. I think I got that right. I'm getting better at it. but Tanya, where do we head from here?
Well, ICE does stand for Inspire, Collaborate, and Encourage. And I just, think about that. How can you inspire others? How can you collaborate together? Because great things come from collaboration. Just like I said earlier in the show, Kylene came on to my friend Sherry's TikTok for her business last night and is doing yoga. It's a great collaboration. Kylene is gaining more followers. Sherry is getting another avenue to take some of the pressure off of her and introduce some other things to her following. And it just makes all these great relationships, and encouraging others is always a great thing. And then the other part of that is choosing. You can choose what you need as often as you need it. And my choose board today says prioritize and rein in the chaos. And this is just a great visual reminder at my desk that, okay, yep, I need to do that. Or if things change throughout the day, I can take my dry erase marker and physically remove it and then put my new thing on there. And then it just helps me hone in more. I'm very much a visual tools girly. So I do have these. This is like 8x10. And I also have a 4x6 on my site if Aaron wants to throw that up there. But you can do it however you want. But since I do like visual tools, I have things on there, messages for t-shirts and other things will be added as well. So
I'm getting the link up there. Sorry, I was
That's
slow
fine.
on the uptake. I don't know.
You're good.
Thought it was in the banners, but we'll make that happen. But it is now in the comments. So there we go. It's getting in the comments. All right, let's try that. There we go. Better.
There we go.
Awesome.
Yeah. So from that state, right, the choose and whatnot, actually, Chuck had a comment here that I wanted to share as well. He said, I remember the 5 keys when I hear people talking about pricing and their methods. So Becky's right. We do have a formula. You just have to put in a little bit of effort on the front end. But once you do that, your formula will actually work for you. So I love that. All right. So yes, choose board. Let's do that. What are we choosing today? We are all fortunate enough to have our choose board. So I'll start today. I'm choosing abundance, to have that abundance mindset. Lots of stuff happening and trying to make sure that, everybody's involved and being abundant and just understanding that all things are possible and out there. We have access to the universe, right? So pretty cool. That's mine. That. What about it? We'll just go in backwards order here. Becky, what about you? What's your
so again, Cora has helped me with it. Mine says Cora. Intentional, because I was gone yesterday and need it. Cora's is loving, but then she heard Aaron say something about 13 fundamentals, but she thought it was elements because she likes to listen to the tapping elements. So she put on 13 fundamentals with a question mark because she would like to know more about that. So Cora and I will be discussing the 13 fundamentals.
Sounds like you got a book there. But the 13 elements sounds really cool too. So right? I want to read that book, Cora. Kylene, what about you?
All right. So I have accountability and commitments. I need to keep my commitments and be accountable for them. So that's what I am choosing today.
Awesome.
And this week. Really.
Awesome. All right. So you guys that are tuned in live, what are you choosing? And, share a picture of your choose board if you have one. I know you guys can't on the live here, but post those on social media and let people know where you got it for sure. So, all right. Well, Kylene, how do you want to close this out here today?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys all for joining us again on another OSG Live. It's been fun, and we're just excited to hear from you and truly appreciate you guys being here. If you have any feedback for us, or if there's a topic you want to learn more about, reach out to us. We're open. We're still learning and adjusting on this platform. So
constant, never-ending improvement.
There you go.
Yes.
Constant, never-ending improvement. Canny. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So just reach out to us. We're open and we're excited to keep helping you and each other as we grow in our business.
Love it. Love it. All right, Becky, any closing thoughts here for us?
Have a great week, and we can't wait to see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye, Cora.